Welcome back to Double Fries No Slaw, Sunday, October 12th. And Richie, the unthinkable has happened. After a 3-0 start, Florida State drops their next three games to start out 0-3 in the league, get to a 3-3 record. And the vibes could not be any lower. I mean, we'll just start there and just say that it couldn't be any worse. We'll just jump into things. I'll give Guthrie's a little love and then we'll go. Appreciate Guthrie's for their support. 1818 West Tennessee, 2550 North Monroe, and 2870 Appalachia Parkway. If you do need to drown some sorrows, you can do that in gut sauce and fried chicken. Go buy Guthrie's and tell them Double Fries No Slaw sent you. All right, we'll talk about some big picture things on here, but I do really just want to talk about the specific game for a few minutes. We may not even spend a ton of time on this. We may go much bigger picture, but on the game in general, Richie, another slow start, especially for the defense. Offense answered pretty quickly, so I won't give them as much grief, but a slow start for the defense where Pitt scores on their first two drives, gets a ton of confidence on the road, and then a second half that was just absolutely awful all the way around. Just bad everywhere. Offense, defense, special teams didn't – I mean, I guess we made the field goal, which is good, but just frustrating all the way around. It even felt – I mean, this game to me was so similar to the Virginia game in that you were down, you were able to take a lead, you had some positivity going your way, and second half come out and just lay a complete egg offensively. Defense okay in the second half, not great by any means, but not good when it mattered, not good situationally. And man, it just felt like, I mean, you were never able to pull away, even though you were clearly better at a lot of times in this game. And it felt like they were going to find a way to blow it. And, you know, that they did.
Yeah, and we'll talk about how big picture and everything, but just an extremely frustrating game if you're a Florida State fan watching that. The way things played out, it was just extremely frustrating. I'm happy that it was a noon game because I'm very happy I did not have to wait for a 3:30 or 7:30, whatever time kickoff it was, to see what was going to happen with that game. That it was just disgusting. Like there's no way around it. This team just was not ready. They looked like they did not care, especially to start the game. Like it was just extremely frustrating, and for the game to play out the way it did, it is what it is at this point. Um, and we'll get into big picture, and you know, I have plenty of things to say about that, but my goodness, TJ, like last night or yesterday afternoon was just extremely. Again, I'm going to keep using the word frustrating for me.
It's hard to understand how this staff thinks, and we'll talk about the staff. I mean, I know what everybody wants to talk about, and so we'll get to that fairly soon, but
Yeah.
it's just hard to see and really understand what the staff thinks just from, I mean, we'll talk big picture here in a minute, like you said, but like, even like on smaller things, right? Like Ousmane Kromah is absolutely tearing it up on the ground, and we throw in Keziah Holmes, who costs you in a massive way, a drive that started on your own 4 or 5 yard line. You've moved it out past the 50. You have a holding call that sets you up in first and 20.
Yeah.
And from there, you fumble the ball on your next play. And if the holding wasn't bad enough, right, to set you back, you're giving the ball right back to him. And when Kromah had been running really well, now maybe he needed a break, maybe he needed to be spelled. We never stick with one back the whole drive. Like that's just never something the Norvell does. But I think that's like 3 or 4 fumbles in the last 3 games, right? When you actually started playing good competition, which at this point, I'd say Alabama wasn't even good competition week 1. Maybe you just caught them sleeping. I don't know. They look like a much different team now than they certainly did in that week 1 performance. On defense, listen, we try not to just absolutely ride players here and be a jerk or whatever. Blake Nicholson looks like he's never seen a football field before. And you've got him spying. You've got him spying a quarterback that runs over a 5.0 40. Like you're not even having him spy. I mean, you weren't asking him to spy Lamar Jackson or Thomas Castellanos or anything like that. You asked him to spy a true freshman, and he couldn't do it, right? I don't know what is being taught there are bright spots. I thought Jabril Rawls played pretty well. I thought Daryl Jackson played really well. Cromwell was really good. I thought Danzy was pretty good. I didn't think Tommy was terrible, though he's very hobbled. But it was just a situation where you just knew. I mean, at 21-14, you kind of thought you got lucky, let's be honest, that Tommy got out of that sack and threw the ball up and Landon went and got it. If that DB would have just come to the ball, could have picked it off, and then we'd go on to the half 14-14, probably lost by 3 scores at that point. But you got lucky, and they just couldn't capitalize on it. You come out and you go 3 and out, and you let them come right back down the field and tie it up. And that it's just remember what we said about Bama in week 1, that it looked like Bama had zero like mental composure. Just they weren't there mentally. And that's what our guys look like. I don't really think it's a lack of effort. I didn't really see any, like, God bless his heart. Like Nicholson was trying. He just isn't very good. Like, he just can't do what they're asking him to do. And so it didn't at all, to me, Richie, look like a lack of effort, which that's a very silver lining. Like, great, you tried hard. They're just not very good. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's talent. It's probably some mix of all three. It's probably also just mindset. Again, it's great they haven't quit, but mentally they're just not there.
No, I agree 100%. You talk about, lack of effort. I don't think it was a lack of effort, but I do think it was a team that looked like they were just trying to go through the motions for the most part. So maybe I'm contradicting myself a little bit here, but I just, watching the game, it seemed like the team thought that they showed up on Saturday at noon expecting to win the game just because of who they are, because of what they did in week 1 or week 0, whatever it was. It doesn't matter. It looked like a team that thought that they were supposed to show up and win this week, and they did not. And that is a problem. That they did. And I still believe to this day, if they treated Pitt like they were wearing crimson and white jerseys, they would have won that game by potentially 20 points or more, but it just wasn't there. And I think they've checked out on the season. I truly do. And I think a lot of that goes into, that Friday night at Virginia up in Charlottesville. I think that's what played a huge role in it. And now they just don't care. And it has me having a lot of questions, TJ, about the rest of the season and what's going to happen. Because I had some serious questions about what this team is and what they're going to do to finish the season.
Yeah, I mean, your expectations for the year. In fact, I see Hunter.
They're gone. They're gone.
Yeah, I see Hunter. Hunter's always said, like, it's 12-0 until it ain't. It's, even starting 0-2 last year, he says 10-2 until Hunter says it's 3-9 and until it ain't. So we'll talk big picture in a minute. Hunter, I appreciate the love. I don't even know. Harlan, do we have anything like that's depressing? Like, I don't know if they even have like yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. God bless you, Harlan. I don't know, man. Like, I just, and then again, on coaching, putting guys in the positions, this is what I don't understand. And listen, I know that we all know that Gus is still an upgrade on what the offense was last year, but it made no sense to me. And I know Deuce got hurt. I know Randy was out. I know Javon was out, and I know Squirrel was out. I get it. Those are your best 4 pass catchers. No doubt.
Doesn't matter.
They were able to move the ball down the field with a minute to go, or a minute and 20 seconds to go, at the end of the first half to get that touchdown to go up 7. And they didn't have any of those guys. Like, Deuce got hurt on that drive. And then later, after you had gone down 10, you were able to hit the deep post to Danzy. And so even the announcers were saying it. They were saying, you cannot, like, they can't pass the ball. There's no confidence in them to pass the ball. And so we'd line up 3 times, try and run it, and that'd be that. And then, again, at the end of each half, when you scored a touchdown on both drives, passing the ball worked. Like, once you got desperate enough, passing the ball was fine without all those pass catchers. And so it was weird to me that Gus just completely abandoned that. Pitt's good against the run. I mean, I know we had 170 yards, but Pitt's really good against the run. And so for you to not try to exploit it with Marquise and Douglas or some of the screen stuff that was working. Our screen stuff worked really well yesterday, whether that was the stuff going out to Danzy on the outside, the dump offs to the tight end or running back. You had Danzy down the field some. You've obviously found Landon Thomas at the down the field. Like, you've got options. Are they as good as Squirrel and Deuce and Randy? No, they're not. I mean, let's just call it what it is. But to not even try, like LeMoyne McCoy, like, is LeMoyne McCoy still alive? Is Elijah Moore still alive? We wondered a lot about, how that would shape up. And at the end of the day, he scored 31 points. A little bit of that coming in garbage time, I would assume, is kind of how you'd look at that. But yeah, I mean, your defense was atrocious. Special teams wasn't much better either. I don't even know why we try onside kicks now. We should just ask the other team if we can have the ball and see what they say. I think we'd have more luck with that. But you had a punt blocked. Fortunately, the defense saved you with Edwin Joseph's interception, but they were just bad all the way around. And they look like who their coach ultimately is. So I don't know. We'll talk big picture. I'll give some love here in a minute and then we'll move on. But do you have anything else before we kind of go on the game specifically? It was just, again, there's no other word to talk. We don't need to spend 30 minutes on a game recap, but it was frustrating and they just weren't good enough.
Yeah, it was just a very frustrating and annoying game to watch. And even you just mentioned the interception. Like, where is your situational awareness for a team when you have that interception in the end zone and you decide to bring it out? Right? I know they scored a touchdown on a freak play. Shades of BC 2013 with Jameis going to Kenny Shaw, similar to that. But you pick the ball off in the end zone, take a knee. Why do you bring that ball out? Like, I'm sorry, y'all. This is going to be very negative for me, so I apologize in advance. But I think that's where we need to be right now. That's where we are, and that's where I'm going to be. But small things like that, you get the interception in the end zone, know where you're at, see the field, and understand I'm not going to get to the 20, so let me just take a knee and make sure that we set our team up in the best field position possible. This team just does not have that, and that starts at the top, and we're going to get there. We will get there, trust me.
Let me give some love to Tallahassee Ford real quick, and then we'll move on to some bigger picture stuff. Appreciate Tallahassee Ford for their support. Listen, I know nobody's in a good mood. Nobody wants to be told to go buy something, especially not a multi-$1,000 vehicle. But if you are in the market for any kind of vehicle, if you're in the market for a newer used vehicle, you will not find a better price than Tallahassee Ford, and you won't find a better experience. They can deliver all over the state. You don't just have to be in that Tallahassee area. They can go anywhere, right? I know we got a lot of viewers from Georgia. I know about some folks that watch in Tennessee. I know people watch in Alabama and certainly here in Florida. If there's something you're looking for, reach out to my buddy Bill McKinney over at Tallahassee Ford, and he will get you taken care of. We certainly will have more coming from them and with them as the weeks go on. If you need to pick me up, just go buy a car. That's a good way to be in a better mood. Next up, Richie, let's just address the elephant in the room. Listen, we have another super chat. Look at this. Harlan saving us. What do we have here? I can't even read that because my eyes are so bad.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Richie, can you see that? FSU Alabama showed us how good the Noles could be, but FSU Virginia showed us how bad they can be. Yeah, I mean, they can definitely play up. And at times through the game yesterday, they played really well. Earl Little making a nice interception. Edwin Joseph making a nice play. We had 5 sacks in that game. Like 5 sacks, Richie. 5 sacks and 2 picks. If I'd have told you that before the game, you just said, well, I would probably win. Right?
Yeah,
we won the turnover battle.
Yeah, no, and it's frustrating because, Earl Little, I think he is probably the microscope of what Florida State is this year, that you can be really, really good, but you can also be really, really bad. Like he was making, I hate to use the term, business decisions several times throughout the game, and that's what we saw. Like, there were plays that he could have made, and he just, for whatever reason, chose not to. But then he makes a really great play, and that seems to be Florida State's identity, not just now, but under this entire tenure, if we're just going to be honest with each other.
So on that, I mean, we've talked about this through last year. He really should not have made it through last year. Like that is the
Correct.
truth.
Yeah.
And his buyout plus the year before are the reason that he was not shown the door. At this point of this season, um, I don't foresee a way that you can bring him back. Now, I'm not saying they will fire him. I don't, I've got my opinions on the finances and I know the buyout's big and I understand all that. I think you are spinning your wheels if you bring him back. I understand that people say that, oh, you need to, put more money into NIL and you need to do this, you need to do that. Listen, guys, we ain't losing to teams that are spending more than us. Pitt don't
No.
spend more than us. Virginia don't spend more than us. Miami does. All right, I'll give you that one, right? But if you were going 10-2 every year like Mark Richt at Georgia and you just couldn't get over the hump, I can understand that argument. You're losing to teams that significantly spend less than you. And so you've got more talent. If you've got more talent and you're losing games, I mean, I think this is the end of the road. I don't think we get an announcement today. I don't even know if it happens mid-season. I don't even know if they do it after the season. Heck, I think they're going to, even with things that Richie said in the first segment, I don't think they're going to lose. I think they're going to win the next 2 games. And so they're going to get to 5-3. If they can get one more win, they'll get to 6-6. I don't even know if that's going to do it. I really don't know who, what the decision that Michael Alford and the Board of Trustees ultimately will make is. But I would love, we've said this before, right? And everybody knows this is not personal. I think one thing that makes this so weird is like, you think about like Florida fans firing their coaches. Man, they have hated Billy Napier and they hated Dan Mullen at the end and they hated Jim McElwain and they hated Will Muschamp. I don't think people hate Mike Norvell. I think they really like him as a person and like all the things he stands for and like what he does. But man, he's just not cut out to coach at Florida State. And I'd love to be proven wrong on that. I'd love for him to go on a 6-game winning streak to win this thing, go 9-3. That'd be great. Yeah, I want Florida State to win every game. I just don't think that is a realistic possibility. And I don't think you're ever going to see, I understand 2023, which I've got thoughts on, happened. But man, there's just been way more good than there's been bad. And in year 6, man, it's time to cut the crap. Like you're just not cut out to coach at Florida State. And that just kind of is what it is.
Yeah, no. So here's what I'll say. Like you and I, TJ, have both had the pleasure of meeting Mike Norvell. By no means are either of us good friends with him or anything like that. I think he's a man of very high character. I think he's a man of very high integrity. His players love him. And he loves his players more than probably most college football coaches do. But with that being said, I'm done. TJ, I am done with Mike Norvell as Florida State's head coach. And I know that I might upset a lot of people, whether it be listeners or people in the Moore Center, wherever it may be. But that's where I am at right now. That is entirely 100% where I'm at. And when you're watching it, I think you were watching the broadcast and didn't make it to the game, but they're saying, this is a pivotal game for Florida State and the program. And it was. A noon game against Pitt is a pivotal point in the program for Florida State. That's embarrassing. And that's where we are. And just to see Norvell, just crap the bed, like it's just so frustrating to me for that to happen. And I don't know. Like I think it's time to move on. I know what the buyout is. I know what all of that looks like, but at the same time, you're just not going to get any better. And I had people in my mentions all day yesterday because I was very crucial on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and I was very intentional in saying that Mike's not the guy. And unfortunately, and here's the thing: I want him to be the guy. I've met him. My wife has met him. He's been great to us. He's not the guy. And for them to say, "Well, no, just give him no," there's no more chances. You're in year 6. You just lost 3 games in a row, and I don't want to steal the credit, so I'll shout out Corey Clark, because I really like him. I know him personally as well. Florida State has had 3 consecutive losses in conference play in the last 44 years. Mike Norvell owns 6 of those. That is disgusting. Get
Yeah.
him out of Tallahassee.
Yeah. It just, listen, I know people will talk about the buyout. I get that. I understand that that's a lot of
The
money.
money's there. The money's
You-
there, Jay. I don't care.
You've got to figure it out, right? And listen, we've had Mike Alford on a ton. At the end of the day, Alfred's the one that signed that thing. Alfred's the one that gave that thing to him. You got to be the one to figure out how to do this. You got to negotiate it with him. You got to figure something out. If Mike if I was Mike Norvell, I wouldn't take any kind of reduction in salary. But at the same time, if I killed something that a lot of people love, maybe I would have the morals to do the right thing and walk away. I don't know. But I wouldn't take it. But you got to negotiate that thing down with him. You got to figure out a way to say, dude, this just ain't working. It's better for you long term if you're not here either, right? Because if Mike ever wants another job at anywhere serious, which I would have no problem. I mean, listen, I'm not a Norvell hater. I like him as a person, and I like some of the things he does as a coach. But he's only going to Mike. I will say this: it ain't worth $64 million. But if Mike ever wants to coach anywhere serious again, he can't continue to lose at Florida State. Like, he can't continue to tarnish it. So maybe Alfred's able to negotiate something with him. Maybe they're able to figure something out. I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence in that. But Alfred's the one that signed the thing at the end of the deal. At the end of the day, he's got to be the one to figure out how to get us out of this thing. Right? That's on him. And we're going to get more money from the ACC this year and every year going forward based on the ratings. Right now, I think Florida State's second in the ACC behind Miami in television ratings. You're going to make an additional like $10 to $15 million just this year alone in that. I know they don't want to spend that $10 to $15 million on a buyout, but how much Alfred has consistently said, how much further can we fall behind when it comes to the conference stuff? Buddy, it's the same question. How much further can we fall behind by keeping a coach that just cannot win here? Like, he can't do it. I know we'll all point to 22 and we'll all point to 23. And maybe this isn't fair to say it, but I had this thought yesterday, Richie. In 2022, you lost to the only 3 teams that were worth a damn on your schedule.
Well, I was going to say, was 2022 really that good of a season? Yeah, we liked the 9-3, the win against Oklahoma in the Cheez-It Bowl. That was great. But was that really
Richie, that year you played 5 straight backup quarterbacks? After you lost those 3 games, you played 5 straight backup quarterbacks. And you dominated them the way you're supposed to. And so, like, I'm not crapping on those wins. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy that 10-win season. You played 5 straight backup quarterbacks to finish the year. Yeah. The FCS school you played, like Georgia Tech had a backup. Miami had a backup quarterback. You got a really good draw there in the second half of the year. And then you remember the 23 year, right? We love that year because we went undefeated and we beat the rivals and we beat LSU to open the year. After that LSU game, this team wasn't like, it wasn't good, man. I know you were losing. You should have lost to BC, and this Tommy Castellanos is playing for you now. You were down 2 scores against Duke. In a primetime game on ABC, you were down 2 scores to Duke. You should have lost. I mean, you beat Miami by 7, who had a backup in there as well.
Terrible, yeah.
And so you struggle with this Pitt team when you went on the road. So we all think about he went 13-0, and they found a way to win those games. And there's a lot of credit that goes for finding a way to win a game. So I'm not taking all that away. But we think about those magical 10 and 13 win years. There were a lot of flaws back then. That wasn't 13-0 like Jameis went 13-0. That wasn't a 10-win year like Jimbo went 10 wins 6 times here at Florida State. So anyway, I think it's the end of the road. Listen, I'd love to be wrong and Mike Norvell never lose another game at Florida State for the rest of his career. I just don't think that's possible.
Let's just go.
I'm not hiring Jimbo. That's the one thing I'll finish this with. I'm not like, that's not a thing. I talk with a friend every day, probably too much, about how we're not hiring Jimbo. And so let me just put that out into the ether too.
So let's just go there. And I don't want to get our show in trouble with the people in Tallahassee and the Moore Center. Mike Norvell's done, in my opinion. It's not a matter of, when it's going to happen. It's when it's going to happen. I don't think there's any coming back. And yesterday wasn't the one single game, but it's a accumulation of things that have happened over his tenure. I just cannot see a a path forward with Mike Norvell. I just do not see it at this point.
Here's a super chat for you from a Miami fan here. Y'all need to figure something out at this rate. UF might beat you. Yeah, I mean, I don't even disagree. Like, yeah, they might. Like, I don't know. That game should probably be played at 11 a.m. on Cartoon Network. Like, that's just
Nickelodeon. Give me the slime touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly. Make it like that NFL game they do at times. Yeah, I mean, they're terrible too. We're terrible. Florida scored 14 points on their first two drives and then scored 3 the rest of the game. It's kind of like what we look like in the second half. So yeah, I mean, whoever comes out and whichever team has quit by that point in November is probably who will win. Thank you for the 5 as we continue to bask in our sorrow. I'll give Sleeper some love and we'll go on real quick. Let's do this one real quick, Harlan. I'll flip it over. Sleeper has a free $20 promotion if you use our code DFNS all through October. Make sure that you check out the Sleeper app. If all new depositors also get the 100% match up to $100. But if you don't want to deposit, if you don't want to spend any money, there are free picks right now. I think Jared Goff's a free pick. You select more or less and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. You can literally do that with a free entry, a $20 entry right now by using our code DFNS. Appreciate Sleeper for their support. One more super chat and we'll keep going. Oh, Harlan threw it up and I shut it out. Harlan, I'll let you put it back up here real quick. Here's my $10 to go towards Norvell's buyout. Everybody that would like to donate to Norvell's buyout, you can hit the super chat button real quick and just trust me and Richie, it'll get to the right place. It'll either go toward that or boost for me and Richie to put up with it, make these shows more entertaining. So, that is great. Appreciate who is that? Never again. Appreciate you, man, for the love. That's hilarious. Big picture, Richie, kind of moving on. So we both kind of agree on Norvell. Here's a thought that I had, and I mentioned this quickly. I think maybe the most frustrating part is you get this big conversation of like, oh, well, you need to take the money and put it toward the NIL, and you need to give more, this, that, and the other. Listen, I'll tell you 2 things. We talked about this when the House settlement went through. I don't know what Florida State's appetite is right now. I'm trying to be careful with some of what I say. I don't know what Florida State, from an administrative standpoint, right? Alford, the AD, the athletic department, things like that. Not necessarily Norvell or the coaches. I don't know what their appetite is to spend above the cap. They've been pretty vocal about thinking that this cap was going to just level every playing field, which I don't think it has by any means. I still think there are schools that are spending well above. But so, yeah, the idea of like, oh, you could just spend more money. Yeah, I would not mind that. I'll say I would not mind if we paid to bring in better and more athletes. My maybe 2 problems with that are, 1, I don't know what the school's appetite is for that. 2, I don't know if it matters. Because you're losing to teams. 2 reasons it doesn't matter. So I feel like I'm got a sermon here with like bullet points and everything. First reason I don't think it matters because you're losing to teams that you're significantly more talented than anyway. When you look at Pitt and Virginia, the second problem with that is I don't know if you have the staff that can close the kids even with the money. Like they had the money ready to go for Jeremiah Smith, and they just weren't good enough recruiters. And they had the money ready to go for Keldrick Falk, and they just weren't good enough recruiters. And they had the money ready to go for Armando Blunt, and they just weren't good enough recruiters. And they had the money ready to go for KJ Bolden, and they just weren't good enough recruiters. And they've had that situation over and over and over and over again. And yes, they've gotten some good wins on the trail. There's no doubt. But they're just not good enough. They're not good enough at closing. And so you could, maybe if you gave Mike Norvell Texas Tech money, maybe if you gave him what Oregon pays and Miami pays, maybe he could do it then. But I don't even know if I have confidence in that. I don't think the staff is good enough at recruiting. I've always thought that. And even though their team is more talented, they're not getting the most out of them. Their team is significantly more talented. I think Florida State's got a top 20 roster based on the 247 talent composite. I believe Pitt's in the 50s. They're significantly more talented than many of the teams they lost to. You think about the losses that they've had over the years. You can even throw 2020 out. We'll give you a free pass on that because that wasn't really his roster. In 2021, they lost to teams that were less talented than them. The only teams that beat them in 2021 that were more talented were probably Clemson, Notre Dame, and Florida. And then in 2022, they were more talented than both Wake and NC State, lost both those games. In 2023, they didn't lose any games. Congratulations. 2024, they were more talented than every team they played, minus Clemson, Miami, and Florida. And so this year, you lose to Pitt and Virginia, who you are more talented than. You've recruited better. You've brought in better athletes. You have guys that had more Division I and Power 4 offers, and you still find a way to lose. And so this idea of like, oh, we just need to take more money and put it towards NIL. Listen, I'm a staunch supporter. I still give monthly to the Battle's End. Like, and they don't even really advertise like they used to at one point. Like they're not even really pushing for donations. Again, maybe somewhat to do with the school, but I still monthly give, and I still encourage people to give to the Battle's End. But I don't know if NIL fixes this. That's the issue to me is I don't think it's an NIL talent problem. I think it's the guy that's calling the freaking plays and assembling the roster.
No, 100%. Florida State is a
Travis Hunter. Yeah, good call.
Florida State is a juggernaut of a program, and as it should be. But the fact that you cannot close the deal on the key players, even if you can't offer as much as Miami is going to offer you, right? You should be able to have a head coach at a program like Florida State to convince a player to say, hey, instead of $5 million, we can pay you $4 million, but here's why you need to come to Tallahassee instead of Coral Gables or Athens or Tuscaloosa or whatever it may be. But looking at revisionist history, Jimbo, his first staff, he did not hire elite coaches. He hired elite recruiters because he knew he needed talent to beat the teams that he had to beat to get to where he wanted to go. He did it, and I think you and I were both there in January 6, 2014 in Pasadena when we won that national title. Is that the last time we felt really, really good about this program? Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, no, like Mike Norvell is just not a good recruiter. Let's not sugarcoat it. He cannot recruit elite level high school players. He did well in the portal, and I think in his mind, it kind of tainted his vision a little bit, where he's thought, oh, I can just go in the portal every year. I don't need to worry about high school players. Clearly, that was not the right solution that he came up with. And that's, I think, what he thought was going to happen, that he could just go in the portal, fill his roster year after year after year. And then you look at the best teams in the country, right? Indiana, they don't have a ton of transfers, right? They just had a huge win in Outson against Oregon, right? Ohio State, the best team in the country. Like the majority of their team, they recruited from high school. The idea that you can just build a team from the portal every single year, it's ridiculous. And I bought into that fraud, right? I truly did. During that 2023 season, you and I were both in Charlotte, had an amazing tailgate, got to watch us beat Louisville without Jordan Travis, and we all thought we were going to the playoff, but it didn't happen. But that was a portal-built team. Without Keon Coleman, you don't win. You're not undefeated without Keon Coleman at all. So what if he had gone to somewhere else? Alabama, Georgia, whoever it may be. Doesn't matter. But yeah, it's just, the way Mike Norvell is trying his vision. I don't know if it's entirely his vision, but the way he's been executing the build of his program, it's not working. It will not work in the future. And again, nothing personal. I think Mike Norvell is a man of high integrity, high character. He has to go. He has to go. TJ, I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to see your way out of it. The other thing you mentioned, the portal, and I've talked about this before, but they were so good in the portal in 22 and 23 for two reasons. One, out of necessity, because what we know is that Mike Norvell cannot recruit elite high school talent consistently. And so they were really good in the portal. They did a good job evaluating. They brought in good players. They were also good because nobody else was using the portal yet. And so
Correct.
there was a surplus of talent, and that doesn't exist anymore. That's not a reality. There are not portal classes where you can pick up a Keon Coleman, and now I know these were over 2 years, but you can't pick up a Keon Coleman and a Braden Fisk and a Jared Verse, guys that are killing it in the NFL. Like Jared Verse might be the defensive player of the year. Keon Coleman killing it for the Bills, who are off to a super hot start. You're not going to get talent like that at that clip anymore because everyone's using the portal. You could be the best recruiter of all time. You could bring Nick Saban back just to recruit the portal, and other teams are also using that. And so it's just a supply and demand thing. I also think teams are doing a better job of keeping their elite talent home. Now, a guy from Albany is always going to leave. I get that. But how many of those stories are there truly every year? And so there's just less supply out there, and there's a higher demand, right? Because everybody needs these portal guys. Everybody wants these guys, and more teams are using it. And so, yeah, it works really well. What Norvell needed to do after 2022 and 2023, when Florida State won back-to-back 10-win years, is he needed to parlay that into elite high school recruiting. And I think he tried. Like, I don't think it was a lack of effort. I just don't think he's very good at it. And so, you talk about talent, you talk about NIL, and you talk about all this other stuff. Ultimately, he's just not good enough at it. And that's kind of where we are now.
Yeah. And I think that's accurate. I think Norvell, and it sucks because he's exactly what you would want in a head coach, someone who is a man of high character, high integrity. He loves his players love him, but he cannot just attract enough elite high school level talent to come play for him. If he could, he's always, one of the last guys in the room with these elite players in high school, but very rarely is he the one that can get the yes from that elite high school player. And that's the frustrating part. Multiple years in a row, Florida State lost their highest commit on signing day. It gets to a point where you're like, again, and this is not a crap on Mike Norvell's show today, even though it may sound like it. And if it does, maybe I am just crapping on him because you know what? He deserves it at this point, quite frankly. He's got to go. It's not going to work in Tallahassee with Mike Norvell. It's done.
Long term is just not the solution. Now, I'll say this. I want Mike to win every single game that he coaches, right? Like, I know it's all doom and gloom and I know it's all negative. I'll never cheer for us to lose a game so that we can move on.
Absolutely not.
I hope we finish 9-3. I hope we go to a fun bowl game and win that too and win 10 games. And then I hope next year he goes 16-0, right? Wins every game, goes to the playoff, does all that. Like, I absolutely want that. I just don't see it happening. Let me be wrong about it, but I just don't see it happening. And so, all right, we'll talk about the rest of the year. Let me give Garnet Gold some love. GarnetGold.com. Make sure you're using their code NOSLAW. Shout out. Listen, I wore my FSU stuff for the rest of the day yesterday, even after the loss. So I know I wore a church shirt this morning, so don't yell at me. But get to GarnetGold.com, do some retail therapy. Listen, I saw a really nice long sleeve kind of I don't know what you call it, kind of a flannel shirt that I think I'm going to get because I'm still going to go to the Clemson game. I'm going to show up and do my job. We've got several jobs that week, but that's going to be one of the jobs that I do. I'm going to still be there. But anyway, GarnetGold.com, use our code NOSLAW, NOSLAW for 15% off. We always appreciate Garnet Gold for all of their support and what they do to give back to FSU's athletes and to the school directly. Richie, every week we've done this. What now for the rest of the year, right? Like our thoughts kind of going forward as a way to wrap up the show. And man, it feels tough right now because had you won that game yesterday and you were sitting at 4-2 and you could kind of lie to yourself and say, this wouldn't be lying, but Miami's a really good team. We lost to them. Virginia's a good team. They're ranked ahead of us. Like that's fine. You lost 2 tough games. You move on. You lose this one though. And now you play two bad opponents in a row. And I'll tell you, I still think they beat Wake, and I think they beat Stanford. I think those teams are really bad. I think you get back to 5-3. If you don't, I think you have to. I think you have to make a move in season. But I think you win both those games. The problem I think you have right now is I think apathy sets in big time with the fan base. I think you erased all of the negativity from last year by winning your first three games. The first one obviously being the biggest, and now I think apathy sets in. I listen. I don't even know. I mean, you look at the rest of the schedule, and we can talk about each game just quickly. But just big picture, I don't know if anybody cares anymore.
No, they don't. And I think you and I are both very, very plugged into the Florida State fan base. And it's not just Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. We know several people, especially in my group chat. Like after the Alabama game with my college group chat, which has several members, people were excited the way that I've not seen in a long time. And now, like yesterday, the second half, like it was almost like ghost silence. Like nobody cared. Like,
No.
like whatever. It's we lost again. What do you expect us to do? But yeah, no, I just don't think there's any way to salvage this season at this point. Even if Florida State were to finish 9-3, get to a decent bowl game, go to the Cheez-It Bowl or the Pop-Tart Bowl, whatever they call it these days, and finish 10-3, it wouldn't be the same as 2022 because that season felt like, okay, we're building upon something, right? Where you finished 9-3, you won the Cheez-It Bowl over Oklahoma, which is a brand name, and then you said, okay, we got a 10-win season. 2023 happens. The snub, I just don't think there's any way Mike Norvell recovers from the snub. And I'm not saying that's the exact reason, but it's certainly a critical point in his tenure at Florida State. And it's just not going to happen. You can't go from 13-0 to 2-10. Like it's ridiculous. Yeah, I just don't think this fan base will ever come back around to Mike Norvell unless he were to win a national title, which it's not going to happen. Not with him, not at Florida State.
You look at the rest of the year, and when we did this earlier, the thoughts were, man, every game on this schedule is sorry, distracted. Every game on the schedule is pretty winnable. Man, Richie, I think every game on the schedule at this point, I think you beat Wake and Stanford. I'll say that. But I think every game in November is certainly
losable. Yeah.
NC State. Now, NC State's terrible too. Like they got blown out by Notre Dame.
But you're going to Raleigh. I don't like that.
Yeah, going to Raleigh stuff, playing in Gainesville stuff, playing
right now.
Playing in Clemson stuff. Virginia Tech should be a win. Like you should win that. But you're talking like there's a real chance you go 6-6. And if you drop any one of those three, you're not making a bowl, which would be unacceptable with this schedule. This schedule is dog crap. Like Florida stinks, Clemson stinks. You caught Bama sleeping. Miami's good. That's it. The rest of the schedule's terrible.
Yeah.
And, Pitt played better than you thought. You were a 10-point favorite. You were a 7-point favorite on the road at UVA.
You're up 7.5 against Pitt.
Yeah, you just absolutely cannot. Like you look at this schedule, and again, maybe they go on a run, man. Maybe they get healthy after the Stanford game through the bye week. Maybe they go on a run. I don't know.
I hope not. I hope not.
No, I hope they win. I'm not cheering against them, but you look at the rest of the season and you start to think, man, we could barely make a bowl, or we might miss a bowl, man. Like, I don't think the team has quit yet. Like I told you yesterday, or I told you earlier, I don't think it was a lack of effort. I just think they're not very good. I don't think they were coached very good yesterday.
So
I think their execution and their injuries injuries did play a part. I'll say that. The pass catchers being out sucked, but I don't think they've quit. But man, what if they quit, Richie? They'll lose every game on the rest of the schedule.
Let me say this. I do not blame the players at all. Not even a little bit. I just think that the program that we have right now is in such a poor place that I'm not surprised. And that's the thing, even my wife, she knows I take Florida State football very seriously. And, she was working last night and she's like, "Oh, are you upset about the loss?" I'm like, I'm upset, but I'm not surprised. But I do not blame the players, and I do not blame Gus Malzahn, Tony White, maybe a little bit because I thought that defense was horrendous. Um, it starts at the top. Like I don't blame the players at all. I think they do care, and they are trying their best. They're just not getting the direction they need, and I think that's where we are right now, sitting 3-3 after knocking off a top 10 Alabama team the first week of the season.
James Franklin just fired at Penn State. You want to know what James Franklin's buyout
Really?
is? $8 million over the next
That's
6 years. It's the same as Mike Norvell's. Penn State found the money. Penn State found that money real quick after a 3.
We have the money, TJ. You know that. Like we have the money if we want to.
It's the same thing here in Tallahassee. And so figure it out, Alfred. You got to do it to keep the fans. And at the end of the day, it'll cost you way more to not do it than it would to just get it done with. So, there's a super chat about that. Penn State just fired Franklin. I like Mike as a human being, but not as a coach. The results are not there. Go Noles. One love from beautiful Pensacola, Florida. Appreciate the love there. Yeah. If Penn State's willing to do it, you got to find a way to get it done, man. It's just not good enough. Rest of the year, what's your record for the rest of the year, Richie?
All right, so we're 3-3 right now. I think we finished probably 7-5. So I'll just say that I do the math. 7-5.
I'll go 6-6 at this point. I say you win the next two, get to 5-3, and I don't think you win any of the road games in November. So 6-6.
I think you beat Florida because I don't think Napier will be around. But then again, last time we played a lame duck coach or interim coach at Florida, we had the worst onside kick in the history of college football. So I don't know.
I did just quickly want to give a shout out to my buddy Michael Harris. Michael's dad passed away, and Johnny Moody Harris, and they donated some chairs they bought some chairs for the tailgates that we go to. His boy and his his son Braden and his wife, like they never even sit down. They donated a bunch of chairs just kind of in his honor to the tailgates that we do and stuff like that. So that was really meaningful and really meant a lot. So rest in peace to Johnny Moody. Appreciate Michael and his family for always being big supporters of Double Fries No Slaw. And that's been a few months. Like it's not super recent. I think it was back. I think it was back in early August. But appreciate Michael and the support that his family shows and doing something sweet for their dad, who they all watched the show together. So appreciate you guys. Richie, that's all I got today. You got any shout outs or anything? That's my big shout out for the day. I don't have anything else besides that.
No, I can appreciate that as someone who, lost my father sooner than I should have. Always make sure you leave that legacy moving forward, of whoever it may be, whether it be a parent, a sibling, whatever it may be. That's important. Like we come on here, we talk crap about football for, I think we're at 48 minutes today, but family is the most important thing, and definitely always keep them first. So
not to end with something else sad at the end of the show, but the perspective is good.
Thanks a lot, TJ.
We do hate the way that football is going, but again, there are bigger things in life for sure. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. Appreciate Guthrie's, Tallahassee Forward, Sleeper, Garden Gold, all the people that support the show. Thanks for all the super chats and stuff, but appreciate you guys for the support. We'll see if Florida State sends out if Thamel and the boys send out a tweet or not this week. I doubt it. Don't get your hopes up. We'll talk to you guys soon. Go Noles.